Hi everyone, my name's Leanna and today I will be building an AMD FX build in 2021 using recycled parts. We will be using a AM3 Plus platform to build this. Altogether we built this PC for £70, roughly $90. Let's get on to the build. For the CPU we are using a AMD FX 8320 CPU clocked at 3.5 GHz. For the motherboard we have got a Asus M5A78LM USB 3 micro ATX format. This also has 4 RAM slots supporting up to a maximum of 16 gigs of DDR3 RAM. For the RAM we are using 12 gigs composing of 2 2GB sticks and 2 4GB sticks. The heatsink we went for is a socket 939 Cooler Master heatsink as it has copper heat pipes to help keep temperature lower. The graphics card we went for is a Sapphire AMD R9 270X with 2 gigs of GDDR5 memory. It will be capable of playing casual gaming and certain popular titles on low to medium tweaked settings. So for the power supply, we got our hands on a Corsair CX500, which is nothing fancy, but it will be better than a generic unit and also has 80+ bronze efficiency. For storage, we went for a new Sunbow 120GB SSD and a Western Digital 1TB hard drive. This was pulled out of a recording box. We also made a video on how to get hard drives cheap, which will be linked at the top right of this video. For the case, we have got a Gamemax Mini Abyss. The case was thrown out due to missing 3.5-inch drive bays, so that's why we are using a 2.5-inch hard drive. We are going to start by installing the retention bracket for the CPU to hold onto. It holds on with a bracket underneath with 4 screws. It's the most common mount bracket with all AMD motherboards, using them even way back. So I'm going to install the thermal paste. We are using standard H510 thermal grease from Amazon, which surprisingly holds up very well. You don't want to apply too much as you'll end up with a puddle. And I find doing a cross works best for me. With AMD coolers, they can be a real pain to install, but we managed it in the end. They hold on both sides with a clip and a lever to lock and tighten it on. Now with that out the way, let's get on with the case. We are going to start with installing the I/O shield on the back of the case. Next, we will be installing the Corsair power supply. We will be facing the fan down, and once we've got it in, we will screw it in to hold it onto the case. Once that's done, we will lower the motherboard into the case and make sure it lines up with the standoffs. Luckily, in this case, there is some standoff style clips to hold the motherboard in place. Now that we've got it in and lined up with the I/O shield, we will start by putting the 5 screws in. We have a fan to help keep temperatures lower. We had a spare Corsair fan that will be installed on the back of the case. Then we will plug in the fan cable into the fan port in the case. For the RAM, as we have 2 different brands, we will colour coordinate on the motherboard. As the Asus does not have a 3.0 header, we bought a 3.0 to 2.0 converter in order for the front top USBs to work. Once we connected it, we will start with feeding the cables at the bottom for them to go into the headers on the board, in order for us to use stuff like the power button, headphone jack and USBs. So let's start with installing the SSD. The case has 2 2.5-inch drive bays next to the motherboard for them to be on show. We will screw it onto the back to hold it in, as these do not have clips to hold them in. Once that's in, we will repeat the process with the hard drive mounted below. So let's start by installing the annoying front connectors. We will put in the USB cable first and panel cables, followed by after the HD audio cable. So, let's move to the back of the case, where we will be putting in cables and feeding them through. We will also cable tie just to make things a little more tidy. Power cables that won't be used, we will cable tie and put it in what was supposed to be the hard drive bay. Turning the case, let's plug in the 24-pin motherboard power connector, followed by the 4-pin CPU power cable. You need to make sure they are plugged in tight, otherwise it can lead to stability problems or even the PC failing to post. Once that's done, let's plug in the SATA power connectors into the SSD and hard drive in order for them to turn on. On the back, we will install the SATA cables to the motherboard, feeding them underneath to make it neater. So now we have got this far, it's time to install the GPU. It should make a click sound once pushed down. Once it's in place, we will screw it in at the PCI slots for it to hold onto place. The GPU also requires two 6-pin PCI power connectors, so they will also go in. Now, lastly, we will be putting two NZXT fans at the top, just to give a little bit more airflow. Now that we have built the PC, let's stand it up and plug it in and see what happens. And it turns on! I really love the front RGB Abyss look. The PC seems to stay on and is posting correctly. So let's put the side panel on and screw it in to hold it into place. Here we have some close shots of the PC. For the price we paid, it is the perfect starter PC into PC gaming, or just something cheap and capable. We will close it up with the glass panel, and now it's time for me to play some games. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, comment and subscribe. See you soon!